something that's being debated right now in Maine. The Trump administration has said if you let trans athletes participate
Right.
in sports, we're coming after you. Janet Mills, the governor, has said, I will sue you. And that is, there's some Maine press that says that's hurting her approval rating. How do you talk about that issue, trans athletes, with, a Maine voter who's like, I don't get this. What's the language you use?
It is, this whole campaign is funded by a billionaire not from Maine.
Which campaign?
The anti-trans campaign in Maine. It's funded by an out-of-state billionaire to make sure that we have this discussion and we don't talk about raising his taxes. That's why it exists. This doesn't. I think there are like 2 trans kids that compete in high school sports in Maine. There are 40,000 Mainers who are going to lose health care because of the lack of the ACA extension. I'm sorry, one of those things seems very important and real to me. One of them seems like an invented culture war scare to keep people divided.
And that's how you win elections, by inventing culture war scares.
Exactly.
So
that's what
how
they
do you talk to a voter who's like, but where do you stand on this? Like, how do you talk about it?
I was a captain of my high school wrestling team in 2003. I wrestled girls from Brewer and from Calais. Nobody cared. There was no uproar. And that's wrestling. That's about as like actual violence. I won. Although both girls gave me a real run for my money, which I was terrified by. Because, as a high school boy, you're like, oh God. We had girls wrestling in boys wrestling or vice versa 20 plus years ago. Nobody cared. It's been there was a girl on our high school football team. Nobody cared. There wasn't this like huge uproar. It's I'm sorry. I cannot take it seriously.
Your response is you are being manipulated by billionaires by asking me about this instead of asking me about access to rural health care.
Like the hospitals in rural Maine are literally closing. Actually closing. It's like happening right now. It's not like a thing that happens in the future. It's happening right now. In Eastern Maine, we were down to 2 places that you can give birth. When I was born, there were 6. And they're both owned by the exact same corporate entity now. So, I'm sorry. It is difficult for me to take seriously this, especially knowing exactly where all the propaganda is coming from. It's literally like the Maine Wire, which is this kind of right-wing rag in Maine. It's a media outlet, if you can call it that. They're the ones who drive the vast majority of this kind of story and narrative, and they're all getting money from an out-of-state billionaire to do it. I'm sorry. It is really difficult for me to engage with it seriously. I'll also say I'm very clear about my support for the LGBTQ community. I'm never going to walk that back. I think we have to find common ground with people. I don't think that's the same as giving ground. I think the progressive, the wins we have had towards equality in this country's history are things that I think we need to maintain and protect. We don't walk back. We take no steps back on that stuff. That doesn't mean that we have to, but that doesn't mean for people that don't agree with us on that, we don't write them off. We just say look, this is and I do this all, I'm like, this is where I stand. And also we're getting robbed by billionaires. And most people are like, yeah, that actually seems pretty reasonable. One of the reasons I think the Democratic Party fails so much is that they often just will say the first part, but then we don't really want to get into the actual systemic changes necessary to keep working people from getting screwed. So they wind up constantly just engaging in the culture war fight. I mean, look at Bernie. Bernie's been asked this kind of stuff for years, and Bernie's always very clear. He's like, I support people, and you need health care. And then you just talk about the health care. That's my position.